The last thing Zuri Bennett saw was her husband's taillights disappearing into the storm. Then she realized he was not coming back. Not to help her, not to save her, not even to check if she was still breathing. For Darius Vale, she was already dead. Rain slammed against her bruised body as she lay on the side of an abandoned road, blood mixing with muddy water beneath her cheek. Every breath felt like broken glass. Every blink pulled her closer to darkness. 3 years of marriage had brought her here, 3 years of fear, 3 years of hiding bruises under long sleeves, 3 years of telling herself the man she married would change. But monsters do not change because you love them harder. Sometimes they only wait for the perfect night to destroy you. And this night, Darius finally tried. Before we go deeper, if stories of survival, love, betrayal, and dangerous redemption speak to you, stay with me. This is Amazing Sari, and this story is not just about romance. It is about a woman who was broken, abandoned, and still found the strength to rise. 12 hours earlier, Zuri had been pushing a housekeeping cart through the glittering halls of the Grand Imperial Hotel. To the guests, she was invisible, just another black maid in a neat gray uniform. But the Grand Imperial was not an ordinary hotel. Billionaires slept there. Politicians held secret meetings there. Criminals smiled inside its private suites while pretending to be businessmen. And Zuri cleaned up after all of them. She worked hard, kept her head down, and never asked questions. That was how she survived. At home, survival looked different. It looked like silence. It looked like flinching when a door slammed. It looked like covering the swelling on her jaw with makeup before work. Darius had not always seemed cruel. In the beginning, he was charming, protective, and intense in a way that made her feel chosen. Then protection became control. Control became threats. Threats became violence. That evening, Zuri returned home exhausted. The apartment was too quiet. No television, no music, only voices coming from the bedroom. She stopped in the hallway. "The shipment moves tomorrow," a man said. Zuri frowned. "Shipment?" Then she heard Darius. "My wife doesn't know anything." Her heart began to pound. The other man lowered his voice. "And if she finds out?" Darius laughed, cold, empty. "After tonight, Zuri won't be a problem anymore." The air left her lungs. She backed away slowly, reaching for her purse, her phone, anything that could help her escape. But before she reached the door, Darius spoke behind her. "You were listening." The first blow knocked her against the wall. The second split her lip. The third sent her to the floor. After that, the pain became a storm inside the storm. He dragged her outside, threw her into his car, and drove until the city lights disappeared. When he finally stopped, there were no houses, no people, no witnesses. Zuri knew then. This was not another beating. This was an execution. "Please," she whispered. Darius opened her door and shoved her onto the wet road. She hit the ground hard. He looked down at her like she was nothing. Then he drove away. For a long time, only the rain touched her. Then headlights appeared. One black SUV, then another, then another. A convoy moved through the darkness like a funeral procession for someone who had not died yet. The lead vehicle stopped. A man stepped out. Tall, elegant, dangerous. His black suit clung to broad shoulders, and his sharp eyes swept over her battered body with terrifying stillness. Jae-min Kwon, known in the streets as Jace, heir to the most feared Korean-American mafia family in Chicago. But Zuri did not know that yet. All she knew was that he crouched beside her, looked at the bruises on her fair face, and asked one question. "Who did this to you?" She tried to answer, but darkness took her first. Zuri woke beneath silk sheets. For one confused second, she thought she had died, and somehow woken inside another woman's life. The room was too beautiful to be real. Fresh flowers, soft golden light, a ceiling carved with delicate patterns, a private hospital suite larger than her apartment. Then she saw him. The man from the road stood near the window, his hands in his pockets, his face unreadable. "You're awake," he said. His voice was calm, deep, controlled. Zuri tried to sit up, but pain shot through her ribs. He moved toward her immediately. Slowly, she froze. His concern unsettled her more than his power. "Where am I?" "A private wing of Kwon Medical Center." Her eyes narrowed. "Kwon? My family owns it." "Of course they did." Men like him always own things. Hospitals, hotels, people. Zuri looked away. I can't pay for this. I know. Her pride burned. I don't need charity. His gaze sharpened. You needed surgery. I didn't ask you to save me. No, Jace said quietly. You were too busy dying. The words silenced her. A doctor entered with nurses trailing behind him. Every one of them treated Jace with careful respect, almost fear. Zuri noticed. The doctor explained her injuries. Fractured ribs, severe blood loss, deep bruising. Evidence of repeated physical abuse. Each word felt like shame being read aloud. When the medical team left, Jace remained silent for several seconds. Then he asked, how long? Zuri knew what he meant. 3 years. Something dark moved behind his eyes. Not pity. Anger. The kind that did not shout because it was already planning. She told him about the conversation she overheard. The shipment. The stranger. Darius saying she would not be a problem anymore. Jace listened without interrupting. Then he made one phone call. Find everything on Darius Vale, he said. Money. Friends. Enemies. Criminal ties. I want his whole life open before nightfall. Zuri stared at him. Who are you? He slipped the phone back into his pocket. Someone your husband should have avoided. Across the city, Darius sat in a motel room, drinking cheap whiskey, convinced his wife was dead. He smiled when his phone buzzed. Payment pending. He believed the secret was buried with Zuri. He believed no one would connect him to the shipment. He believed he had won. He was wrong. 3 days later, against Jace's advice, Zuri returned to the Grand Imperial Hotel. She needed normal. She needed work. She needed to feel like her life had not completely been stolen. But normal lasted less than 1 hour. A wealthy woman in a white designer coat snapped her fingers at Zuri in the lobby. You, Maid. Come here. Zuri stiffened but obeyed. The woman deliberately dropped a glass of red wine onto the marble floor, then smiled. Clean it. People watched. No one helped. Zuri bent down slowly, humiliation burning her throat. Then a polished black shoe stepped into view. Jace's voice cut through the lobby. She is not your servant. The woman turned, ready to argue. Then she saw his face. Her confidence vanished. Jace looked at the hotel manager. If anyone in this building humiliates her again, they answer to me. Only then did Zuri understand. The Grand Imperial belonged to his family too. That evening, Jace received the report on Darius. His expression changed. What is it? Zuri asked. Jace looked at her with deadly seriousness. Your husband is connected to the Dragon Lotus Syndicate. Zuri's blood went cold. And now they know you survived. Darius saw the photo and nearly dropped his phone. Zuri was alive. Not just alive, protected. The image showed her, leaving Quan Medical Center, with Jace Quan walking beside her like a shadow made of violence. Darius cursed under his breath. Of all the people who could have found her, it had to be a Quan. The Dragon Lotus Syndicate would not forgive failure, and Zuri knew enough to destroy him. Meanwhile, Zuri sat in the back of Jace's car, clutching her mother's old Bible against her chest. I want to go home, she said. No, her head snapped toward him. No, Jace did not blink. Your husband tried to kill you. Now a syndicate knows you're alive. I survived Darius before you. You survived him because he allowed it. The words hurt because they were true. Zuri looked away. I won't trade one controlling man for another. That reached him. His expression shifted. I am not him. Then stop deciding for me. The car stopped outside her apartment. Jace stepped out. We'll collect your things, then you come with me. The apartment still smelled like violence. Broken glass glittered on the floor. A smear of blood marked the hallway wall. Zuri froze. Memories hit her body before her mind could stop them. Jace noticed. He did not touch her. He simply stood close enough to block the world. What do you need? My mother's Bible. He found it and placed it gently in her hands. Then the front door burst open. 3 masked men rushed in. One grabbed Zuri. Another raised a gun. Jace moved faster than fear. One shot, then another. The attackers fell, wounded but alive. Jace grabbed one by the collar. Who sent you? The man spat blood. Darius. Zuri's body went cold. Jace looked at her. Still want to stay here? She had no answer. That night he took her to one of his estates. It sat behind iron gates and armed guards, surrounded by trees and silence. Inside, everything was black marble, warm gold light and expensive emptiness. Zuri felt like a maid walking through a palace. Jace led her to a bedroom larger than her old apartment. "You'll sleep here. And you?" "Close. How close?" His eyes dropped briefly to her lips. "Close enough." Heat rose in her chest. She hated it. She hated that danger could feel like safety when it came from him. Later, she found him in his study. "Tell me the truth," she said. "Who are you?" Jace leaned back in his chair. "My family controls hotels, ports, hospitals, clubs, shipping routes, and half the politicians in this city." Zuri swallowed. "You're Mafia. I'm the heir." Before she could respond, his phone rang. He listened. His face hardened. "My father wants to meet you." Zuri's stomach dropped. When Jace stood, now, the Quan estate looked like a kingdom built on secrets. Iron gates opened before them. Guards bowed as the car passed. Zuri stared out the window, her hands folded tightly in her lap. She had cleaned homes like this. She had never been invited into one. The dining hall was filled with people dressed in black, silver, and quiet judgment. Every conversation stopped when she entered. Jace placed a hand lightly against her back. The gesture was small, protective, possessive. Chairman Hyun-soo Kwon sat at the head of the table. Jace's father. His eyes were older than his face and colder than winter. "So," he said, "this is the woman." Zuri lifted her chin. "My name is Zuri Bennett." A flicker of approval crossed his face before disappearing. Across the table, a beautiful woman in red laughed softly. Yuna Park, daughter of the rival Park family. The woman Jace was expected to marry. "She's pretty," Yuna said, in a sad way. Jace's jaw tightened. "Be careful." Yuna smiled. "Or what? You'll embarrass me in front of both families, if necessary." The room fell silent. Zuri felt every eye on her. She was not only unwanted, she was dangerous to their plans. Dinner moved like a slow war. People discussed alliances, shipments, territories, and debts as though talking about weather. Zuri understood enough to know the Kwan family was under pressure. A stolen diamond shipment had weakened them. The Park family wanted payment, and Yuna wanted Jace. When Zuri excused herself to breathe, she wandered into a quiet hallway. Voices came from behind a half-open door. "Jace is distracted." Another man replied, "Then we move before he finds the diamonds." Zuri stopped. "Diamonds? The maid is a problem too." Her heart pounded. Before she could hear more, Jace pulled her away. "What are you doing?" "I heard them talking about diamonds and me." His face darkened. "Who?" "I didn't see." They returned to dinner, but tension had shifted. Jace watched everyone. Yuna watched Zuri. Chairman Kwan watched his son. Then Yuna raised her glass. "To family loyalty," she said sweetly. A waiter filled Jace's wine. He lifted the glass, stopped. His eyes narrowed. Zuri noticed. "What is it?" Jace smelled the wine once, then smashed the glass against the floor. Red liquid spread across the marble like blood. The room erupted. Chairman Kwan stood. "What happened?" Jace looked around the table. His voice was quiet enough to terrify everyone. "Someone just tried to poison me." And suddenly, every person in the room became a suspect. The poison should have killed him. That was what the family doctor said. A single sip would have stopped Jace Kwan's heart before dessert. No one left the estate that night. Guards searched rooms. Phones were seized. Servants questioned. Still, nothing was found. Whoever had tried to kill him knew the house too well. The next morning, Zuri insisted on returning to work. Jace refused. "No." She folded her arms. "I'm not your prisoner. You're under protection." "That sounds prettier than prison." For a moment, he looked ready to argue. Then he nodded. "Fine, I'll take you." At the Grand Empirique, Zuri tried to breathe again. Work gave her rhythm, purpose, something familiar. Then Noah Kim found her near the service elevator. Noah was the hotel's operations manager. Kind, sharp, patient. The only man at the hotel who had ever treated her like a person before Jace. His eyes softened when he saw the fading bruise on her cheek. "Zuri, what happened?" Before she could answer, Jace appeared beside her. Noah looked from him to Zuri. "And you are?" "Jace." "Noah." Neither man smiled. Zuri almost sighed. The jealousy started quietly. Noah brought her coffee. Jace noticed. Noah made her laugh. Jace hated it. Noah asked if she was safe. Jace's eyes turned dangerous. Zuri told herself it annoyed her. But a part of her, the wounded part, felt something unfamiliar. Wanted. Then Yuna struck. A wealthy guest accused Zuri of stealing a diamond necklace worth $500,000. Security searched Zuri's locker. The necklace was there. Gasps filled the staff room. Zuri stared at it, stunned. I didn't put that there. Yuna stepped into the room, smiling. How unfortunate. Zuri understood immediately. This was a setup. Noah stepped forward. She didn't steal it. Yuna tilted her head. And you know this how? Because I know her. Yuna laughed. How touching. The police were nearly called until Jace arrived. The air changed when he entered. He did not shout. He did not threaten. He simply looked at the necklace, then at Yuna. Searched the cameras. The footage showed a woman entering the staff area. Her face was hidden, but her bracelet was visible. A silver serpent wrapped around a ruby stone. Yuna's bracelet. Still, Jace was not satisfied. This proves Yuna was involved, he said, but not that she acted alone. That night, he reviewed the footage again. His eyes stopped on a shadow in the hallway. A man speaking to the woman before she entered. His face appeared for 1 second. Zuri saw Jace go still. Who is that? His voice turned cold. My uncle, Minjun Quan. The poison, the diamonds, the frame-up. It all pointed inward. Someone inside the Quan family wanted Jace destroyed. And now Zuri had become the easiest way to hurt him. Betrayal had a face. Minjun Quan, Jace's uncle, trusted advisor, family strategist. The man who had taught Jace how to read enemies. Now he was the enemy. Files covered Jace's desk. Bank transfers, shipping records, hidden accounts, private messages. Everything led back to Minjun and Yuna Park. Millions in stolen diamonds had been moved through ports controlled by the Dragon Lotus Syndicate. Darius Vale had been their street-level pawn. His job was simple. Use Zuri, gather hotel information, help move illegal shipments, then get rid of her when she became inconvenient. Zuri sat across from Jace, feeling sick. My whole marriage was a setup? Jace's silence answered before his mouth did. I'm sorry. The words were soft, too soft, and somehow they hurt more because he meant them. That evening, Zuri left the hotel through the staff entrance. The street was quiet, too quiet. A black van pulled up. The doors flew open. Men rushed out. One grabbed her arm. Another covered her mouth. Zuri fought with everything she had. She was not the woman Darius left on the road anymore. She bit one attacker hard enough to draw blood. Then gunshots cracked through the night. The men scattered. Jace appeared from the darkness like vengeance in a black coat. His guards moved around him, but Jace reached her first. Are you hurt? Zuri stared at him. Not at the guns, not at the men bleeding on the pavement. At him. The panic in his eyes was real. He was afraid. For her. Back at the estate, neither of them slept. Zuri stood on the balcony, looking over the city. Jace came behind her but kept his distance. Why do you care so much? She asked. He was quiet for a long moment. Because someone should have. The words broke something open inside her. She had spent years begging to be loved gently. Years shrinking herself to survive. And now this dangerous man stood beside her like he would fight the whole world before letting it touch her. She turned toward him. The space between them became charged. Not safe, not simple, but alive. Then a package arrived. No name, no return address. Inside was a photograph. Darius shaking hands with Minjun. Partners. Jace's phone rang before either could speak. He answered. Listened. His face turned lethal. What happened? Zuri asked. One of my men is dead. Then a video arrived. Darius appeared on screen, smiling inside an abandoned warehouse. Tell Zuri I'm ready to finish our marriage. The video ended, and Zuri knew the monster she escaped was coming back. The kidnapping happened in daylight. That was the part Zuri hated most. Darkness would have made sense. A quiet alley, a storm, something dramatic enough to warn her. But the sun was shining when the black SUV stopped beside her outside the hotel. Hands grabbed her. A cloth covered her mouth. The world tilted, then vanished. She woke tied to a chair in an abandoned warehouse. The smell of rust and gasoline filled her nose. Darius stepped from shadows. Still handsome, still cruel, still convinced he owned her. You embarrassed me, Zuri. She lifted her head. No, I survived you. His smile disappeared. Across the city, Jace turned Chicago upside down. The Quan estate became a war room. Maps, phones, security feeds, names. Every man under his command searched for her. Noah Kim arrived breathless with a location. Darius contacted me, he said. He wanted money. I traced the call. Jace stared at him. You came to me. Noah met his eyes. I love her enough to know she chose you. That silence held respect neither man wanted to admit. Then Jace grabbed his gun. Move. Back in the warehouse, Darius confessed everything. He had married Zuri because she worked at the Grand Imperial, because powerful men talked around maids, because invisible women heard valuable secrets. Min Jun had paid him. Yuna had protected him. The Dragon Lotus Syndicate had used him. And when Zuri overheard too much, he was ordered to erase her. You were never my wife, Darius said. You were access. The words should have destroyed her. Instead, they freed her, because now she knew the truth. The shame had never belonged to her. The warehouse doors exploded open. Gunfire erupted. Jace entered like a man who had already decided Mercy was dead. Noah reached Zuri first and cut her ropes. Can you walk? She nodded. Then Darius grabbed her from behind. A gun pressed against her head. Everyone froze. Jace's eyes locked on hers. Let her go, Darius laughed. You think she's worth dying for? Jace stepped forward. Yes. The gun fired. Jace moved faster than thought. He threw himself between Zuri and the bullet. Blood spread across his shirt. Zuri screamed as he collapsed. Even on the floor, bleeding, he looked at her first. Are you okay? His eyes closed, and Zuri's world shattered. The surgery lasted 6 hours. Zuri counted every minute like a prayer she was afraid to speak. Jace had lost too much blood. The bullet had come too close to his heart. Doctors moved in and out of the private hospital suite, their faces careful, their voices low. Chairman Hyun-Soo Kwon arrived before dawn. For once, the Mafia boss looked less like a king and more like a father. He found Zuri beside Jace's bed, holding his hand. You should rest. No, her voice was quiet. Final, I'm staying, Soo. Hyun-Soo studied her for a long time. Then he nodded. My wife said the same thing after I was shot. It was the first time he looked at Zuri without suspicion, maybe even with respect. 3 days later, Noah brought the evidence that ended the war. Security footage, bank records, voice recordings, a hidden ledger. Everything connected Min Jun Kwon, Yuna Park, Darius Vale, and the Dragon Lotus Syndicate. The stolen diamonds, the poison, the attacks, the attempted coup, the plan to use Zuri and kill Jace. It was all there. By nightfall, the Kwon family moved, accounts were frozen, warehouses raided, alliances broken. Men who had smiled at Jace's table were dragged out of hiding. Yuna tried to flee on a private jet. She never reached the runway. Min Jun hid in a safe house near Lake Michigan. He thought family history would protect him. He forgot Jace had survived. When Jace opened his eyes on the 4th morning, Zuri cried before she could stop herself. He looked at her weakly. Why are you crying? You got shot, idiot. A faint smile touched his lips. You're still bossy. She laughed through tears and leaned carefully against him. For a moment, there was no mafia, no blood, no war, only a man and a woman who had almost lost each other. 2 days later, against medical advice, Jace left the hospital. The final confrontation happened at dawn. Min Jun was captured alive, Yuna exposed, Darius arrested. The Dragon Lotus Syndicate lost its protection inside the Kwon Empire. The stolen diamonds were recovered. By sunset, the war was over, but peace came with a price. Morning. Chairman Kwon summoned Jace to his office. Zuri waited outside, her heart pounding. Inside, Hyun-Soo gave his son the choice every powerful man feared. The Empire or the woman. Jace did not hesitate, and that was when Zuri understood. He had already chosen her long before anyone asked. The Empire or Zuri, Chairman Kwon said. Jace stood across from his father, still pale from the bullet wound, still carrying pain in every movement. But his voice was steady. Zuri, Hyun-Soo leaned back. You would give up everything? No. Jace's eyes did not waver. I'd be keeping the only thing that made any of it matter. For a long moment, silence filled the office. Then Hyun-Soo smiled. Small, rare, proud. It was a test. Jace said nothing. My father gave me the same choice once. Hyun-Soo continued. I chose your mother. Outside in the hallway, Zuri heard none of this. She only knew that Jace came out, took her hand, and said, let's go home. Weeks later, Darius Vale stood in court. Attempted murder. Fraud. conspiracy, racketeering. The evidence was undeniable. When officers led him away, he looked at Zuri one final time. She expected rage. Instead, she saw fear. Good. She turned away. Some men only understand power when they no longer have any. Noah met her outside the Grand Imperial that evening. The city lights reflected in the glass behind him. "You're happy," he said. "I am." It hurt him. She could see that. But he smiled anyway. "I always knew it would be him." Zuri hugged him. "Thank you for being one of the good men." Noah held her for a second, then let her go. "Go live, Zuri." 1 year later, rain fell softly over the same deserted road where Darius had left her to die. Jace parked the car and helped Zuri out. She recognized the place immediately. Her throat tightened. "Why did you bring me here?" He took her hand. "Because this is where I found you." Tears filled her eyes. "This is where I almost ended." Jace shook his head. "No, this is where you began again." Then he dropped to one knee. The rain touched his hair, his suit, the velvet box in his hand. "Zuri Bennett," he said, "I found you broken, but I never saw you as weak. I found you bleeding, but I never saw you as ruined. You are the strongest woman I know." She covered her mouth. "I don't want a queen beside me because of my empire," he said. "I want you because you are my peace, my fire, and my home." He opened the box. "Will you marry me?" Zuri was crying now, but this time the tears did not come from pain. They came from survival, from healing, from love. "Yes," she whispered. Then louder. "Yes, Jace, I'll marry you." 6 months later they were married. 6 months after that, Zuri stood on the balcony of their home with one hand resting on her growing belly. Chicago glittered below. Jace wrapped his arms around her from behind. Safe, warm, real. The night Darius left her for dead had felt like the end of her story, but it was only the end of her suffering. Because on the darkest road of her life, a Mafia Heir stepped out of the storm. And he did not just save her life. He helped her find it again.